the social web applications and things like that, and so the networking sites and all that. So using the logos and all in the rules. So it looks pretty good that way. And it does give us an opportunity, again, you know, that's real life settings now with the employees. When they're browsing out to the internet, they're going to check some of the social networking sites, especially like over the lunch hour, hopefully, or whatever. Not during the work hours, but then things like Facebook. A lot of companies employ or utilize Facebook just for their just for other developments or other things that are going on with their company, so that you can check and just keep up with things. So some of those applications, yeah, they're social networking sites, but they do have important business applications utilizations as well. So, okay, so that was chapter 3. Now we're going to go into chapter 4, which is licensing, and chapter 5, which is the traffic visibility. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll take a look at the Smart Update first. That's where the licensing is. And then we'll come back and we'll look at our Smart Log. We'll wait until tomorrow. Like I said, I like to wait until we do the VPN to open up the Smart View Monitor, because then, or you can look at it anytime you want to, actually. But remember, Smart View Monitor, if you come down here to Logs and Monitor, and then you open up the, so here's all your logs. Right now I've still got it set to HTTPS inspection. I'll clear that out. And usually if you see something that's not logging properly, it's because you've got some query going on in here. But we'll talk about utilizing this, looking at some of the different tops over here. And again, when you open up the new tab, we'll talk about the audit log view. And down here is the Smart View Monitor. It says Tunnel and User Monitoring, but that's the Smart View Monitor that actually opens up one of the older style consoles there. So so if you want to go with this with me, you can, or you can just watch. It doesn't make any difference. But I'm going to come up here to the Launch menu, or the Application menu, they call it. And I told you I would show you in Global Properties a couple of things. Remember, this is under Global Properties, this is the Security Management Access. And as we were going through the wizard over on bGateway, we had the choice to automatically download contracts and other important data that was recommended. But then I said we didn't need to improve product experience by sending information to Checkpoint, because this is just a lab environment. Checkpoint does like to collect information like this. They'll use this. Again, it's kept confidential. But they try to use this kind of information to, again, just enhance their product, make it as beneficial as possible. So. We talked about the firewall tab. These are the different implied rules, unlocking the implied rules down here. We talked about the network address translation when we went through NAT. So we'll come down here and we'll look at logs and alerts in just a little bit as we're talking about this. I think I'll wait till we actually get to that chapter, though, the traffic visibility chapter. But that's where we'll be going in that. So right now I want to look at the at Smart Update. When you go to the application menu and come down, it's called Manage Licenses and Packages now. So when you click on that, again, it's going to open up one of the old style consoles here. And it's called Smart Update. And there's two parts to Smart Update. There's a package side and a license side. Now this still has a bunch of old license in it. I'm just going to cancel that window there. So you can see that there's a tab here for package management, and there's a tab here for licenses and contracts. You can see what I've got here. I've got some licenses. I used to have to always get 30-day evals for years. I always had to get a 30-day eval to work. But last year, about this time, they came out with 6-month BCK licenses that I could download for my class. So that made it really nice. And what I do then is I just go out. We'll talk about the difference between central licenses and local licenses, but I just create four licenses based on the 10.1.101 IP address of my SMS. And when I create a license, I create a license, but it actually creates two licenses within that license. One's a license for the management server, and then one is a license for a gateway. All right. So what I do is I create four licenses based on the 10.1.101 IP address, and then I go to each license and I copy and I paste it into Notepad, and then I take all four of those licenses in Notepad, or actually all 8 of them from those 4 licenses, and I copy and paste those just into a .lic file, a separate file in Notepad that I create, and I just accumulate all of them inside this one file. And that's what I did here. I just called it 27 August 2019 to give me a reminder when these are coming due. And when you first generate them, 6 months sounds like a long time out. Now we're already into the middle of July, and I'm thinking, okay, another month here, I'm going to have to be generating licenses again. So, so then I put them in a folder on the desktop, and I put my contract in a folder on the desktop, and then you can just import them in. And what you see up here, again, here's again, this is called the launch menu, or the application menu. And you can come down here and you can look at packages, or you can look at the licenses and contracts. For licenses and contracts, I can add a license from a user center or from a file. I can go out to the user center and just generate a license from here if I have to. Or like I say, when I generate my .lic file, I just put it on the desktop, and so I can just add a license from file, and I just go to that file that I've created. I just double click on it, and when it brings it in, since I had 4 of them that were to 10.1.101, it actually puts all 4 of them here on the management server. I don't have another management server, so it doesn't really make any difference. I could go through and remove 3 of these to be the same thing. But then I've got licenses, 4 licenses left over that I can assign to my A Gateway 1 and A Gateway 2. All right. But one thing I like to do, instead of using the launch menu here or trying to figure out what these icons are along here, you can go into the launch menu and just come down to the second item, which is view, and come down to menu bar, and then it puts that information across the top here. There's still a drop down on each one of them, but you don't have to go through the launch menu. That just seems easier to me. So these are my, again, this was licensed to the 10.1.101, all of these. On my B Gateway, it's not actually showing a license here. It should show one. What I'll do is I'll just right click on here and I'll say get license. Okay, so this is what happens. When you install a firewall, you remember we didn't do anything about licensing this firewall. We just went through the configuration wizard. We created the object. We set trust. We pushed policy to it. Everything was, we didn't think about a license. Well, when you set up a firewall like that, or an item, a checkpoint item, it gives you a 15-day trial. This is called a 15-day trial license. So you can enable all the blades, try it, you'll like it. So you got 15 days to try everything out. So the blades you decide you want to keep enabled and you want to use, then you can go ahead and buy the regular licenses for those, the subscription licenses. Okay. There's also a repository. Well, you notice there's an operation status. I went and I said getting license for B Gateway when license was retrieved. I can actually double click on this, and it'll tell you when this operation started at 13:09:41 to finish at 13:09:42. It didn't take very long. And it'll just give you step by step here. Obviously just retrieving a license isn't going to take very much or show very much. But we'll talk about this more when we get over into package management. Now there's also a repository for everything. So if you go to licenses and contracts, again, you can go out to the user center and get a license. You can do it from a file. You can do it manually. I don't suggest trying to do it manually. It's an operation of futility as far as I'm concerned. I can never add one manually, it seems like. With the update contracts, you also, we'll talk about contracts in a little bit, but you need to have a contract, and you can download that from the user center. I normally do that, and I just put it in my directory on my desktop, and so I just retrieve that from the file. And then down here, the last item is to view the repository. And on the repository, you can just see that there are, I don't know if I can grab this and pull it up or not. It's always kind of tricky. There, I got it. So you can see that there are a lot of different licenses in here. A lot of these expired. I didn't clean them out. The 6th of March, those are my last licenses. And then these went to the 27th of August. And then I've got a contract down here too. And it actually says that the 8th of January of 2017, I tried to generate a new contract, and I even asked Checkpoint about it, and they checked it out, and they said, well, the contract is good. There's one part of the contract that we don't use in the Checkpoint Labs anymore, and that part expired, but we don't use it anymore. So they said, it didn't generate a new license. I'm still just using this. It looks like the license expired, but it's obviously, I guess, it's a good license. Although, I mean, a good contract. I just wish it was a little different, because it always looks like I don't have any contracts over here involved with anything. So anyway, but with the contract, but whenever you have a checkpoint management and firewall, you do have to have the contract in your repository. It has to be installed on the management server. That just shows, and you can open up the contract on the desktop. You can right click and open it with something. It's just a big hash. You're not going to see anything in there. But basically, there's something in there that says you're agreeing to abide by checkpoint rules and regulations. I don't know what, just the checkpoint prerogatives. I don't know what the rule is, the name is for there, but you're just agreeing to work by their standards, I guess, maybe is a simple way to say that. So then whenever you're going to upgrade your version, you do have to go out and get a new contract. And you should get the new contract before you upgrade. You can go ahead and upgrade before doing that, but you have to get the new contract as soon as possible after you do the upgrade. And when you're doing upgrades, you always upgrade the management server. Considering your management server and your firewalls are at the same version, you always upgrade your management server first. Your management server can be equal to or greater than your firewall versions, but it can never be less than your firewall versions. Okay. If we look at one of these licenses, it doesn't really tell us very much. It seems like on the 30-day evals, I could figure out a little bit more about some of the features. You look at the features here, and like I say, it really doesn't tell you too much. It kind of expounds a little bit on it here. VPN secure client for 25 remote users. That's this VSC 25NGX, I guess. But other than that, it's not really telling us very much. It does tell us that this is a central license. So we'll talk about central licenses versus local licenses as we go through the slides. It gives us a signature key here, which is a very long alphanumeric number with dashes in it. The certificate key is always going to be a 12-digit alphanumeric number. And this shows that it doesn't have contracts. That's why I wish I could just get a new contract, but it seems to be easier said than done. And so, those are the licenses. It used to be you could tell on one of the slides it'll talk about a container, and it used to be on the 30-day evals on my management. I would get separate management license, and I would actually get local firewall licenses, and it would say it was a gateway container and a management container, and the container is just a container that holds the different blades that the licenses are enabling. Okay, so that's the license side of this. Over on the package management side now, there's also there's an operation status, but there's also a repository. We used to use this. You remember when we went through the the Gaia portal, the web UI, and we kind of went all the way down to the bottom, and we looked at the upgrade service engine, the CPUSC. And that's what Checkpoint is wanting you to do now for hot fixes and upgrade packages. They want you to use the upgrade service engine. We used to use Smart Update here in R77. And so what you would do is you would have a repository here, and you could go out and put your hotfix or your TGZ file. It would be a Red Hat Linux file to upgrade. We would upgrade our firewalls from R7710 to R7730, and we would use the package management to do that. This is something that you would normally see on your exam. You would come up to A Gateway 01, and you would come down here to distribute package. And when you would come to distribute package, like now it's not going to do anything because it doesn't have, well, there's not anything in the repository. But you would right click here and you would go down to distribute package. So and what that would do is it would give you three options. Okay, one would be you could just distribute the package like your upgrade package. You can just distribute it to the gateway, but you can do that at any time, right? You're not rebooting the firewall. You're not really doing anything. You're just loading a file onto it. So you could distribute it. The other thing was you could distribute it and install it, or the last option would be just to install it. You've already distributed it, and at some later time you're going to install it. So those are the three different options. The questions on the exam were, you've chosen to distribute and install, what's going to happen? And you know, one of the options down there says distribute, one says distribute and install. That's the right answer. The other one just says, it looks like the exact same question, the same four answers, but this one, when you read it closely, it says you've chosen just to distribute the package. What are you doing? And so the answer for that is you're just distributing the package. All right, so that's how we used to do the upgrades. Again, it was very easy. You would just click on the package. It would move it over to the firewall. It would start installing it. It would reboot the firewall when it was finished, and all the time this operation status, you could double click on it, and they would tell you what it was doing. Step by step by step, it was distributed to the firewall, or to the server 100%. It's now installing the policy. It's now rebooting. This may take a few minutes, you know, all the way down. Finally, it would say it was finished with it. So that's package management, licenses and contracts. But one thing we can do here on the package management, come to packages, and once you've installed licenses and installed a policy, you can go to packages and you can get data from all. And so this is kind of, so down here you can see that it's going through on operation details. It started checking connectivity, getting machine information. It's completed successfully, and now it puts up a finished time and date up here. So it just populates this area up here. So now you can see you just got the information from all of these, from A Gateway 1 and 2, B Gateway, and the ASMS. Tells it the operating systems, the vendor, major version is R80, the minor version is R8010. Okay. So that's pretty much the Smart Update. Pretty much all we've ever used it for. And especially the licenses and contracts. Again, you know, we'll talk about the difference between central and local licenses, moving licenses. Again, if you're getting a new version, you might need to get a new license for that, for the firewall. We always had to have new licenses whenever we upgraded the version on them too. So the bank person would go out and generate the licenses. He'd put them in the repository. I'd upgrade the firewall that night. Once the firewall is upgraded, I would come back in here to my licenses and contracts. I would right click on my firewall. I'd say attach license. I'd go down and find the license that was appropriate and select it and attach it. And I'd be good to go. All right. So that, any questions about Smart Update? Okay. Okay, let's look at traffic visibility now. we've been looking at our logs, both in the security policy and over here in the log viewer, and you've come up here and you've done a query on maybe HTTPS inspection or just HTTPS. So tomorrow when you do the VPN policy, you can come down here to the blade and then select the VPN blade. That way it'll filter out all the other logs, and you'll just see your encrypts, the key exchanges, and your decrypt, from Bravo over to Alpha. It's nice. Like I say, it filters out everything else. And you're just looking at what's important to that. You can do it by blade there again over here under queries, under favorites. It used to be listed here, but now you have to come down to access, and then come down to VPN, and then you would just click on the VPN blade. All right, that's just again the way to do that. When you're running queries, and you're not sure how you can run the queries up here. Well, first of all, it just defaults to the last 7 days. All right, there's a drop down here, and if you've got a lot of logs coming through, you might not want it to go back 7 days. You might just want to look at the last hour if you're troubleshooting, or today, or the last 24 hours, yesterday. You can go back to all time. That seems like a long way back, but I guess you can. And so normally I just kind of set up for the last 24 hours in the lab or something like that. Anyway, it takes a little bit less time for the queries to come back. The less farther back that it's going. Again, you can see all the rule zeros. That's where we're logging the implied rules. It says rule 0, those are all the implied rules, all the IGMP. This is actually being dropped for some reason. So that's some of the queries. If you want to understand the queries, you can come over here, and there's a link that goes to the query syntax. This query used to just be a little help page. Now it actually has to go out to the internet. And it goes to an sc1.checkpoint.com/documents page. And this when you come and look at this, now all we're doing is just kind of looking down here in this one section for query languages and stuff. But you can see this has anything that has anything to do with Smart Console. So you can, when you, like you were asking about your student manual, how long do I have it? Well, you can take any topic in the student manual and Google it, R8010, R8020, whatever, and you can come up with these admin guides. This is one just for Smart Console. You can pull it up for the whole admin guide for R8010 or R8020. And what comes up are these sc1.checkpoint.com/documents pages. And what's really nice about these is that you can do a Control F, and you can search for something in these SC1 pages. So that that makes it really nice. I've got a lot of these saved just as as bookmarks on different things. It's just a nice. It's a nice reference to go to, and again, I can just search through it if I'm looking for something in particular. A lot of times, if you students bring up something that I don't know what the answer is, I'll just do a Google search on it. Sometimes I'll pull up a document like this, and then I'll do a Control F and just search through and try to find what Checkpoint actually has to say about that thing or something. So, but this is just the query language overview. Different ways that you can query. You can see that if you had the identity awareness set up and you had your different employees, with the identity awareness, when we set that up tomorrow, instead of just seeing a source IP at you'll see that John is going out, or that Sue is going out, or the guest user, where they're going out to, that they'll be identified in there. And then you can see that Sue's going out to the job search site 10 times a day at the monster.com to see what's going on. You can see that now in your logs. You can filter on IP addresses, certain services here, like that. Wildcards, you can use, this says a question mark matches one character, an asterisk matches a character string. And as an example here, they do JO question mark. That's just going to be JO and then one more character. So like JOE or JON, but not Joseph or JOHN, for example. However, JO asterisk would be John, Joseph, John, Paul, whatever. Okay, that's pretty clear. On IP addresses, again, this would show everything in the fourth octet, putting the asterisk in the third octet would show everything in between the third and fourth octet. The keywords, this is kind of like when we click on there and we can go down to our blade or source or destination or service and we can filter on those items. All right. You can also do Boolean operations for your and or not filters. I'm not really very good at setting up Boolean. I'll kind of show you how I do that. But again, this is just in the query. Again, just tons of different things here, and this is all. You can even save this page, and again, this is all your Smart Console R8010 help. When I do a Boolean search, I'll do something like, and this is how I used to do it in SmartView Tracker. I would just go in to the column like source here. I would just right click and I would just add a filter in it. And if I pick something here like ALDAP and not, so that puts my information in here. My source is anything other than the ALDAP server. On my destination, I can add a filter and, I don't know, put in all internet, see what that does. Does that do anything? Yeah, so my source is anything here that's gone out to the internet, but anything except for the ALDAP server, all right. So that's how you can kind of set up your Boolean operations. Makes it pretty easy. Now, if you want to know your tops, over here is top sources. You know, your top destinations, your top services. IGMP is the top service, NTP here, HTTPS. The CPD service here, that is probably going to be a lot of the application monitoring. So if I click on that, it's just going to pick this, it's just going to filter on the CPD service here. So a lot of stuff is dropped here on the cleanup rule, or it's included here on the implied rule 0, CPD traffic. Okay, so let's take a look now at, if we go into the new tab, there's an audit log view. And this is very good, and you'll probably see more of this if you scroll down through. Now your most recent item is going to be here at the top, 133. Down here you can see this is 9:53 this morning, goes up to 1:33 in the afternoon. So depending on what happens, here's where I put in my access control rule here. You know, I modified something here, performed on the DMZ, the network layer, 3 changes published by admin. So this shows I modified something here. I published it. Here's where I installed the policy. Here's where I went into the smart update and I got the gateway data on all my different objects. See, it even picks that up. So this is where your audit logs are. Again, if you got an outage going on and somebody says I didn't do it, you go in and you say, yeah, somebody deleted an object here out of the threat prevention policy. Or what? Who was that? Oh, that was Joe admin over here. And so, you know, so we go talk to Joe admin about that. So that's the information in your audit logs. And like I say, we'll take a look at the, we'll go in before we quit today, and we'll set up the compliance view, the compliance blade on the ASMS, and then we'll set up a log switch on the ASMS too. So, okay, so that's the logs and the smart log, the traffic visibility. Let's see, let's take a look. Again, back at the gateway, the difference between the gateway and the ASMS. Now, on the A gateway cluster and on the ASMS, they're both going to have a log section here. All right, local storage. This is on your disk space management. When disk space gets below a certain size, issue an alert. And you've got different alert options here: none, log, pop-up alert, an email alert, an SNMP trap, user-defined alerts that you can set up. When disk space gets below a certain size, start deleting old files. Again, at the bank, if an auditor ever saw that, they'd go kill somebody. So we weren't ever allowed to delete any log files or anything. So, but you'll see this in the gateway. Now again, it's not too vital in the gateway. There's additional logging here, and right now, all of our logs go to the SMS. We don't have to set that. It's already. The SMS, it's already set up to do that, actually. When we just come up here in logs, it already says send the logs and alerts to the ASMS server. Okay. So we don't have to actually put that there. But say we have a Splunk server or a dedicated, a standalone log server. So we might, again, if we did, we would create an object for it. We'd set SIG to it. When we have that object, we would come in here, we'd go to the drop down, and it would have our dedicated log server there. There's a log forwarding schedule. So again, all this information that's on the firewall, this same information is on the management server as well. Again, your firewalls will not usually log locally. They'll normally they'll collect the logs and then send the logs to the log server, whether it's the ASMS or dedicated log server. The only time they would usually log locally would be if it was a standalone. Obviously, if the management server and the firewall were on one server, it would just log locally there. If connectivity was broken, it's sending the logs up to the ASMS, then something happens and it loses connectivity. That the management server goes down, or somebody unplugs something, or somebody a backhoe digs up a line or something like that. Anyway, we lose connectivity with the management server. So at that point, the firewall will start logging locally, but then as soon as that connectivity is restored, then it'll forward those logs back up to your log server. Okay, so we'll take a look at the ASMS, and we'll see that here when we click on logs, that it's picking up logs from the B gateway and the A gateway cluster. Again, we've got the log indexing enabled. That's that Solar Log Indexer, SOLR. That's why when we can go into the smart log there and run a query, it can go back through, it says billions of files. This is kind of amazing, but it can go back through billions of files and return our query just very quickly. So again, this is the same storage information here, the same additional logging information. If you've got this open, if you don't, go ahead and open up can everybody open up your ASMS? I know some of you are just watching me go through this, but this is actually something we can actually do. We'll do lab 4.1 and we'll do lab 5.2, and we'll have our labs done for chapter 4 and chapter 5. So what we're going to do is, again, if you had a dedicated log server, they might go first to the ASMS, and then at a certain time they would be forwarded to another log server. But what we normally do is we create new log files. We do a log switch, and it's still retained on the ASMS, but every night at midnight or every so often it's going to do a log switch, and it creates separate log files then. The current log file, when you look at it, it's always fw.log, but prior log files after its log switch, it gives it a date and time stamp. So if you got the ASMS open, click the box here that says create a new log file when the current log file is larger than 1,000 megabytes. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to set it at a scheduled time. So, and when we click the drop down for the scheduled time, we're just going to come down here to midnight. Okay, so check these two boxes here. If it gets larger than 1,000 megabytes, it's going to do a log switch. Otherwise, at midnight tonight, it's going to do a log switch. Now, you can even get more granular than this if you want. You'll notice this box says manage here, and I can do a new scheduled event. I'll just name it X here for now. So this says that at a certain time, you know, every day, it's going, well, at a certain time, here I can actually set it for every so many hours, or every so many minutes, or every so many seconds, it's going to do a log switch. Otherwise, every day at whatever, at 10 o'clock or something, you know, it'll do a log switch, or 2,200 hours. I can get even more specific than that. I can actually come down to the days and say every day at that time do the log switch. I can pick certain days of the week, you know, so every Wednesday do a log switch. Or I can even come down here to days of the month, and you know, on once a week, 7, 14, 21, and 28, we're going to do log switches. All right. So again, you can just get very granular with that. But we're just going to set it up right now. We're going to create a new log file if it gets larger than 1,000 megabytes, and at midnight tonight. Otherwise, it's going to do a log switch. All right. Let's come up back here to general properties, and we're going to do something else. We're going to enable the compliance blade. This is Lab 4.1. The other lab we just did is Lab 5.2. Lab 4.1 is to come in and click the box for the compliance blade. And we'll take a look at that tomorrow. That's in our logs and monitor. And also, while we're here, go ahead and check the boxes over here for Smart Event Server. When you check the Smart Event Server, it's going to also check the Smart Event Correlation Unit. We're not going to do anything with Smart Event and CCSA, but when we look at the logs and monitor tomorrow, we want to be able to look at some reports. And you can't open up any reports unless you've got Smart Event box checked here, all right? So has everybody done that on the ASMS? You check the compliance blade, you check the Smart Event Server and the correlation unit down here under additional logging. You check the two boxes here, create a new log file, and when at scheduled time, it dropped down to midnight here, all right? So once you've got that set up, we're going to click the OK, and then we're going to publish it, and then we're going to install the database. So go ahead and publish that change. Now, when we make a change on the ASMS, just like we just did, that's not part of the policy that we're going to install down to the firewall. So same way, if we had our user management, we managed all of our users just in a user management database on the management server, and we went in and we added a new employee, or we changed an authentication method, or fired somebody, or whatever happened. We had to go into the ASMS and make a change on our user database there. But once we're finished with that, we would publish it. Then you have to come over here to the application menu. And you come down here under Install Policy, Verify Access Control Policy, and Install Database. See where this says Install Database? So we're not installing the policy on the firewall, but we do have to install these changes on the ASMS. So that's just going to come up. It's going to be checked by default, and just click the Install button here. And down here on our recent tasks, we'll see that'll pop up, and it'll install the database. It just takes a second here once it gets going here. All right. So that's Lab 4.1 and 5.2. 5.1 is just looking at the logs. 4.2 is looking at the licenses and contracts. So we pretty much looked at everything. We went through anything else on the logs. Again, we'll look at the SmartView model. Just enable the compliance blade. Okay, the slides. We'll go through the slides. So does anybody need a break before we'll go through the slides for Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 then, and then that'll be the last thing we do today. So do you want to take a quick break? I've got 3:40 And so we can take like a 5-minute break if you want. If you need a quick break, we can come back, and then we'll go through the slides for Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. All right?
That's good.
All righty.